Hey, you're watching Bite Me with Nicole, and today we are going to make a hazelnut tiramisu. And this is doubly special because this tiramisu does not have any eggs in it. So for someone with a compromised immune system, you could have this recipe as well. I never thought I would say compromised immune system on my show, but yeah. So let's start. To start with, we just have about 350 milliliters of whipping cream. And what I've done is I've set the whole mixing bowl in the refrigerator for some time. And that way it's going to stay cooler longer. So my cream is going to whip more easily and also stay cool afterwards. Now to this, I'm going to add 250 grams of mascarpone cheese. You cannot have tiramisu without the cheese. That just wouldn't be right, would not be Italian at all. So to the cheese and the whipping cream, I'm going to add just 1 tablespoon of sugar to start with, because this hazelnut tiramisu also includes some Nutella in its mix. So I'm going to monitor the sweetness quite closely. Next, I'm going to add about 75 to 80 grams of the Nutella in as well. After that, I'm going to add just half a tablespoon of the Frangelico. Now, if you don't have Frangelico, you could use some rum. A dark rum would be preferred. And I'm going to leave the other half tablespoon for my coffee, but that's going to come in later. So at this point, if you like, you could also add some vanilla. So just about half a teaspoon of vanilla. Next, I'm going to whip this. Start at a gentle speed. That is going to go flying everywhere. Next, you can move higher up. So at this point, your mix is nice and firm and fluffy. You can give it another little whiz just to make sure everything's incorporated. Make sure not to over whip your mix, because then you'll just have like this buttery, awful texture going on. So you know it's done when it holds its shape and it's this consistency. So now it's time to assemble the tiramisu, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with just putting a little bit on the bottom so I can have my biscuits stick properly. What I have next is 200 grams of the Savoiardi biscuits or the Ladyfinger biscuits, which you should be able to find at almost all supermarkets. So we're going to take our biscuits and we're going to dip it into 5 cups of really strong coffee. Now I'm going to put it in a shallow dish, and I have the leftover coffee over here if I need more. And you don't want it to be a deep dish, because otherwise you're going to drown your biscuit and these get moist really, really quickly. So to start with, just dip like the sugared side down. Resist the urge to flip the whole thing in and dip it on both sides. If you do it just on one side, you'll have a nice, more firm texture to the entire dish. So once that's done, you just place it in your dish and you keep repeating. Now I'm going to top up my coffee, because as you can see, just half the amount of biscuits has used up all of that coffee. So for the last one, if you're using an oval base like mine, just crack it in half and fill up the sides. That's fine. I'm going to top up my coffee. So next, we're going to do the layer of the mascarpone. So next, we're going to do our next layer of biscuits. Also at this point, if you wanted to add a little more liqueur to the coffee itself, if you're looking for a heavier punch, and if it's a dinner party for all adults, I mean, go for it. Everyone's going to thank you for it. You could just add about half a tablespoon. Next, we're going to go with the second layer. Also remember, when you're putting your biscuits in, to flip them. So that way gravity is just going to take the liquid towards the other side as well without making it too mushy. And that's about 200 grams of the biscuits almost gone. And for the top layer, just crack another one in half, fill up the spaces. Okay, so next we're going to do our last layer, because you want to make sure you finish with a layer of the mascarpone. What you're going to do next is clean up the sides, then cover this with cling film and leave it for about 2 hours to cool and set. So the tiramisu is ready and I've taken off the cling film, and you can see it's set for 2 hours and it's set perfectly. So what I have over here is about 80 to 90 grams of roasted hazelnuts, and I've blitzed them in a blender, in a processor, and some of them I've just pounded with a mortar and pestle, so I get some big pieces and some powdered pieces. And then all I'm going to do is sprinkle this all over. You can do this just before you're ready to serve, especially when you add the cocoa, because when you pop the cocoa back into the fridge, it's going to get moist. Okay, so just try and get it to all the sides as well. Next, what we're going to do is add some of the cocoa. All I need for this is some cocoa powder and a sieve. There we go. Oh, how pretty. So there you go. That's it. So that was roughly maybe a tablespoon and a half of cocoa powder just sifted on. That's it. And there's your tiramisu all ready. And to cut this now, you're going to need a flat spatula because you're going to be able to lift up the layers. Oh, set so well. Okay, I'm just going to lift gently. You can use my spatula at all right there, but you will for the second base. That's it. Let's put all this to the side. I like how you can see the layers as well, even though the layers kind of like melt together because there is Nutella in the lovely mascarpone filling. Let's try this. It's so good. I like how I'm so impressed by my own food so very often. It's so light, and you get the lovely coffee from the Ladyfingers as well. And the best part is it's not too sweet. This is definitely one of my favorite summer desserts on a hot summer's evening because it's all cool and yummy. And like tiramisu means itself, it's a great pick-me-up.